Between two cities. This is a very simple game, a filler level, I would say. It's very easy to teach and you can play it in about half an hour or less. In this game, players will draft the tiles and they will place tiles to form cities. The tiles are square and the cities are 4x4 tiles. At the end of the game, you score them, as simple as that. But really as simple as that? Not really. There is going to be a twist. The game is ideally for 3 to 7 players. You can play with 2 players with a variant. You can also play solitaire with an automa, but actually I haven't played it that way, so I cannot comment on the one-player version. It just seemed not all that appealing. Also, I do have players at home to play with, so why would I want to play solitaire? And so I played the game with my daughters that are now 7 and 9, which also tells you this is a game you can play with children, and they didn't have any problem playing the game. The main object in the game is these tiles here. You have single tiles, as you see here, and then you have double tiles. The general idea is that the game lasts 3 rounds. At the beginning of the first round, players receive a hand of single tiles, and they will select 2 of those tiles secretly, and then you put the stack aside for the time being. Then each player takes their 2 tiles and uses them to build 2 cities. You'll be building a city on your left and a city on your right. The city on your left actually is built in team with the player sitting on your left. The city on your right built as part of a team with the player sitting on your right. So actually, as I did that, well, that other player selected 2 tiles, so that player selected 2 tiles, and now maybe we discuss and we decide which go where and in what position. You need to attach your tiles orthogonally to tiles that are already there, and suppose that's how it works. Then after we do that, we give our tiles to the next player, we receive the remaining tiles, and we continue like this. You know, drafting a la Sushi Go, 7 Wonders, but using these tiles, and again, placing them in our cities, and so on and so forth. The cities will need to be of 4x4, so certain configurations are not going to be possible. If a configuration will give you 5 in a row, then you cannot do it. Now, after we exhaust our hand of tiles for round 1, each player receives 3 double tiles, and they select 1 for each city. And again, we're gonna do it like this. Now all the tiles need to go in the same orientation, which is easy when you have a single tile. The double tiles also, but you can see some are organized, so some will have to be vertical and some will have to be horizontal, which I think adds to the interest of the situation here. And suppose this is how we're doing it for that city and for this city. After the second round, which is where we place these tiles, so we get again a hand of single tiles, and we repeat the procedure, this time going in the other direction until the game is over, and we're sitting between 2 cities of 4x4 each. We score each city, so each player will get 2 scores, and your final actual score is going to be the lowest between the 2 cities. So this one is worth 10,000 million trillion points, this one is worth 5, you score 5 points, bad for you. So keep balance, try to get them both pretty good. And hopefully hope that your teammates have a really sucky city not sitting between you, but on the other side. Then of course that is going to be their low score. Your low score is going to be awesome and you win. If there is a tie, the first tiebreaker is your other city, whatever that is, whatever the score on that one is. There are the tiebreakers, but I still haven't seen any need to get that there. So very simple idea, but now of course you want to know, okay, fine, but how do you score? Well, thank you for asking. That's a very perceptive question. You're a great audience. Now, stores. These are stores. Think of them as strip malls because they score when you place them in a straight line. And so 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them in a straight line will be worth 2, 5, 10, 16 points respectively. Parks, they score when they are in groups of adjacent tiles, and they need to be adjacent orthogonally for that to, well, to look like a park, like so. And so 2 park tiles next to each other, for example, would be 8 points. And then 12, and after that, diminishing ends is only 1 extra point for each extra tile in that group. So ideally, 2 parks of 3 tiles each just yields the best result there. Taverns, the ones with the red diamond symbol, and then within that symbol, different things. There are different taverns, one for music, one for sleeping, one for getting drunk, and so on and so forth. Taverns in your town will score regardless of position, but based on how many different kinds you have. Variety is rewarded here. So for example, 3 taverns of different kinds will be worth 9 points, regardless of location. Offices, they also score depending on the number that you have in town, regardless of location. 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, and 21 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offices. Plus, however, each office is worth an extra point if it is next to a tavern, regardless of the type of tavern. Actually, 1 extra point per office if it's next to at least a tavern, regardless of the number of taverns. My daughters kind of struggled there at the beginning. They kept thinking that this must be 2 extra points, but no, it's based on the office being next to at least a tavern. Factories, that's really is about dominating the industry here, because the city that has the most factory, in that city, each factory is worth 4 points. The city has the second most factories, then the factories in that city are worth 3 points each, and then bronze medal for having the most factories in that city. Each factory is worth 2 points. Houses, so it's nice to be in a city that has a lot of variety. So houses will be worth each a number of points equal to the number of other types of buildings that you have. So for example, in that city, you have 5 other types of buildings, because you have offices and stores, etc. In that town, each house is worth 5 points. If you have a town that only has 2 other types of buildings, towns plus 2 other types of buildings, then each house is worth 2 points each. So the houses, on average, they will be worth 5 points each, because people will want to have the variety, and it's not that hard to achieve. However, here is the plot twist. No one wants to live next to a factory. So in your town, a house next to a factory will be worth only 1 point, which can be tricky at the end when you don't have many options to place things, and it turns out that both you and your teammate have selected tiles that will force you to put a house next to a factory, then you're wasting points. So this is the general idea. Play for 3 rounds, create 2 4x4 cities, score the lowest, and the highest score wins the game. So between 2 cities, this is easily one of my daughter's favorite new games. They both loved it, and I definitely loved playing it with them. These days I cannot play games with adults. I don't have game nights. I guess I can play with my wife, but I don't know that this is gonna be a game that works for her. Although very simple, very basic, still I see how the different ways of scoring sometimes would throw her off a little bit. But my daughters loved it. It's a little more than a filler, because really once you get the game started, you know what you're doing. The game plays in under half an hour. But there is some meat, there is some thinking here, there is some interesting strategizing, such as the rules don't say that you cannot talk at all in the game between turns, but they do say that you need to select your tiles secretly. So what we do is that once you select the tiles and we place them, before we see what the next tiles that we get are, we get to discuss and make some general plans. My 7-year-old daughter loves to go for majority of industries, majority of factories. The other daughter likes to have the variety, so you can see the different styles. But then, of course, it's all about how you implement it and how you commit, because by placing certain things in certain areas, then you won't be able to place other things there. So, oh, why don't we keep the area open for the strip mall if we can make it there? Oh, the park would be great there, but then we cannot expand it. Oh, wait a second. If we place a factory there, do we then have a place to place a house that is not next to the factory, and so on and so forth. Very simple, very linear decisions, but yet they work. They simply give you enough reasons to be interested, to strategize, to work together with somebody else. And I have to say, this idea of playing in teams, although ultimately only one player wins, really works if you're playing with children. And you know, children sometimes, well, their emotions run high. They are like the Balkans before the Balkans figured out that they needed reason and rationality to block those devastating emotions. That's what children are, early Balkans. But here, well, they're rationally working together to achieve something. Although ultimately they want to win alone, they're still working together as a team because that city needs to be good for them to win alone. So that mechanical working in teams really works well, especially if you're playing with children, especially with children with strong personalities and powerful emotions. That means every child. So, Between Two Cities, fun, definitely a fun family game. It works very well even in times of pandemic in my household. I can't wait to also play it as a simple filler, as a warm-up game with my adult friends. So definitely enjoyable game.